Is your home an ADT home? If not, listen up, gang. You need to get ADT to help protect against break-ins, fire, and even carbon monoxide. And now, for a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate, starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. That's just $1 a day. You spend way more than $1 on your morning coffee. ADT is the first security company to help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go with the new ADT Go app. ADT Go has some great features like family locator, private messaging, automatic check-ins, and safe driving reports. It even includes an SOS button with 24/7 emergency response. And if you need more of a reason to buy, you get ADT Go with a purchase of any security system. Seriously, guys, it's a great deal. Protect yourself and your family right now. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate. ADT, tested, trusted, proven. With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here with you. Good weekend?
It's wonderful. Are you kidding me? The only problem is 3 went to Pinehurst, 2 made it back.
Yeah, we lost Junior somewhere along Tobacco Road.
He veered off into Minnesota to golf in another tournament with Kyle Rudolph from the Vikings, and oh my gosh. That, let me tell you, there's no way I could have continued on from the weekend that we had to go to another. But, man, what a fun weekend that was.
We had a blast.
Wow.
It was the first of what we believe will be annual.
Let's go.
Golic and Wingo Leadership Retreat. Down at Pinehurst, North Carolina. The folks there took really good care of us.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, the people down there, we're going to get more into it, and we'll talk about who the winner was. The winner is one of the two of us.
Yes.
And it's not me.
Championship!
But Pinehurst, they were fantastic. Fantastic. Can't speak already. Devin, Elizabeth, Shanice were down there from our side.
They did a great job.
Unbelievable. And what they did with all the winners down there, it was just a fantastic time. That place, for me, not a golfer, that place is as advertised.
Look, it's really the cradle of American golf, if you think about it in a lot of ways, in a pioneering resort. And I know there have been other clubs and other courses that have been around longer, but what Pinehurst has been able to do, and again, we'll get into it a little bit later and the details of it all, but it's just a neat little place. So we'll get into that a little bit later. We got some great guests coming up today. Jessica Mendoza from Sunday Night Baseball will join us a little bit later. Royce Young from our ESPN reporter for the Oklahoma Thunder.
There's some news going out there.
Well, there's some issues there.
Yeah, there are.
Some players are forcing some hands.
Yes, they are.
Which they can do and they should do because of what's available to them. He'll join us a little bit later as well. It's a big week, by the way. This is LeBron week.
Yes, it is. LeBron week. We have awards tonight and LeBron's decision by Friday. So there you go.
From the beaches of L.A. to Houston. From Boston to the Bay. And to Cleveland. This is LeBron Watch.
So again, he has to decide by Friday.
By Friday, whether he's
going to
opt out of his deal. We're going to talk to Max Bretos.
Yes.
About the World Cup.
Maximilian.
We've had some standings changes.
There have been some movement in our World Cup fantasy draft.
We got a lot of news about that.
And Mavs GM Donnie Nelson will also join us to talk.
They're looking to make some moves as well. Already did on draft night, but maybe a big, and I mean that literally and
large and huge.
As a guy they may be going after.
That's also true. So we'll get into all of that. And some other things that you might be impressed with. Because, yes, one of us won this weekend, and one of us also won today. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but we'll start, ladies and gentlemen, as we do most hours, with What's Trending. And again, the NBA's MVP will be revealed Monday night from among 3 finalists. James Harden, winner. LeBron James should have won. And Anthony Davis, really just there.
Well, Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
No, continue.
Yeah, why not? the coach of the year up there, Dwayne Casey, that would still be amazing.
Yes.
Right, if Dwayne Casey won for coaching Toronto and he's now the coach of Detroit.
Congratulations, you're fired.
Brad Stevens and Quinn Snyder. Rookie of the year would have changed had they included the postseason, because all we talked about was Ben Simmons or Donovan Mitchell.
Correct.
Simmons, Donovan Mitchell. Jason Tatum was incredible for the Celtics in the postseason, but it's not a postseason award. Remember, even though the award show is now, this is all just for the regular season. So I don't think Tatum's going to be in this one. It's going to be between Ben Simmons, who's been in the league for a year already, but is still considered a rookie, and Donovan Mitchell, who is an actual rookie.
Yeah, look, the MVP thing is interesting to me because I think it's a foregone conclusion that James Harden's going to win it. I just don't understand why LeBron isn't going to win it. I mean, look what he carried into the postseason.
Well, I think it's going to be the Michael Jordan effect, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Michael Jordan could have won way more than he won, but
Correct.
It was just like, okay, he's the best player, we know it. But this year, I'm kind of with you. This year especially, his 15th year, he played all 82 games and what he was able to do. But again, that's just a regular season, and he had a monster postseason, but you have to keep that out of it as well. Most improved, looks like people are leaning toward Victor Oladipo for that. Defensive player of the year, be between Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert. I believe Embiid's in there as well. So we'll see. Fun award show. I do like when the leagues do this. Hockey did it last week. Again, basketball doing it tonight, get their chance, their night out. The NFL does it as well. So I do think it's a cool thing, even though it's way after the regular season. You kind of got to go back and go, oh yeah, this is for the regular season, even though the last thing in our mind was the postseason.
Correct.
You can't count any of that.
It does seem like, look, the NFL awards, which is done the Saturday night before the Super Bowl. It's in the city. It's very convenient. It's easy, but it does seem like we have stretched this one out a long way.
And it's okay, because the NBA, listen, they're living their life, man. Their last couple of off seasons, including obviously this one, have been incredible.
Yeah, but even if the finals went 7 games, which would have been to June 17th, I think it would have been, we're still talking over 8 days after the end of the finals.
To have your regular season award show.
It just seems a little bit. Hey, but you know what? Content.
Absolutely,
we'll take it.
And you think we'll see some decent outfits tonight out of these guys? Holy smokes.
I think that I wonder how much of it is like, okay, rookies are going to do this for the draft, and do we as veterans then one-up them in the award show? So we'll see what happens as that plays out tonight. Meanwhile, the World Cup continues. Hey! So here's what's going on. 3 teams vying for Group B's 2 knockout stage berths. Spain, Portugal, and Iran are still in contention for Group B's 2 round of 16 berths in the 2018 FIFA Cup. Although you have to feel pretty strongly that those two are going to be Spain and Portugal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we have 4 games today. Usually we had a game at 8, 11, and 2 Eastern time. Now we have 2 games at 10 o'clock. We have Uruguay and Russia. Both teams are already moved on. You have Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Both those games are at 10 o'clock. Both those teams, by the way, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, are out.
Yes.
And then at 2 o'clock, you have Iran against Portugal and then Spain against Morocco. Our standings at this point, man, did they take a switch?
Bring it, baby.
You had more than just a golf monster weekend.
Yeah.
You had a great World Cup weekend as well.
10 points. 10 points I picked up.
Big points. As of now, in our snake draft that we had, again, there are 4 teams. Trey has a team, I have a team, Mike and Devin are together, and the staff are together. Wingo leads with 26 points. Junior and Devin have 25. I have 21, and the staff has 19. Again, 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie. And at this point, as far as in and out, as we move forward, as far as out, I've lost 3 teams. Costa Rica, Morocco, and Poland.
Poland was a shocker.
That was
one of your top 3 picks.
Yep, so they're out. Mike lost 2 teams, Egypt and Panama. The staff lost Peru and Tunisia. You lost just 1 team in Saudi Arabia. As far as advanced already, I do have 3 teams that advanced, Uruguay, France, and Belgium. Mike has Croatia. Trey, you have England, and the staff has Russia as far as already advanced. So it's pretty close. While you jumped into first place, man, it's pretty close competition.
It is. Mexico looks like they're in really good shape to advance. They've already got 6 points, but they haven't officially advanced yet. Spain looks like they're going to advance. They're playing, again, Morocco. I like their chances for 3 points today on that one.
I'd love Morocco to pull out a tie and give me a point out of this one, even though they're out. Give me something here. How about what England did, though, to Panama? Holy smokes.
They took out decades of World Cup frustration in that 6-1 win. A big part of that was Harry Kane. He got the hat trick.
Yep.
Harry Kane was definitely in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And the way he got the hat trick was bizarre. He had two penalty kicks for 2 of his goals. And then his last goal, I'm not sure if he even meant to do it. If he did mean to do it, it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Because he's just strolling along in front of the box. Somebody takes a shot. It goes off his heel. And redirects, and the
hey, congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Panamanian goalie, like, really?
Yeah.
Really? He started
Congrats on your
he's
hat-trick.
like, really? How does that happen?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And of course, he's got to say, meant to do that.
Of course.
It's like that bank shot in
well,
billiards.
I saw my mate doing this, and I went put back my little heel.
Put my boot up.
Exactly.
God, we're idiots.
Harry Kane continues to dominate the World Cup, much in the same way Cristiano Ronaldo continues to dominate the World Cup. And we continue with Major League Baseball teams going to play their 81st game this week, marking the official halfway point of the season. So you look at the standings right now, and again, what's going on in baseball, you have what is going to play out because of what happened over the Yankees over the weekend. They lost 3 straight to Tampa Bay, including a 7-6 loss in the 12th inning in a walk-off situation on Sunday. Chris Sale had a big game for the Red Sox, so we're looking. They're in a virtual tie right now. The Yankees and the Red Sox are for first place in the AL East. And again, Mike, the Red Sox have played 4 more games. They have 2 more wins and 2 more losses, so that's why it's essentially a wash and it's a first-place tie. I'm telling you, man, one of these teams has got to make a move at the trade deadline, because if they don't, one of these teams that's going to win well over 100 games is going to be in a 1-game playoff to keep their season going.
That's fine. I'm not going to lose my mind about that, because, it doesn't happen every year. And it's going to happen this year, and everybody's going to go, oh, come on, this should be a series. It shouldn't be 1 game. It's fine. It's going to happen this year, but we're all going to live. As far as checking in at the halfway point, too, about possibly the biggest free agent ever. At least we've been talking that way, right? Stanton had signed for the most money at $325 million.
Right.
Everybody talking about Bryce Harper. He's going to get a $400 million deal. Could he get a $500 million deal? Well, I tell you what, he is not playing some good ball.
Yeah.
He did hit 3 doubles yesterday. I believe it was 3 doubles yesterday. But that raised his batting average to 219.
That's unbelievable.
219. In June, he has the second lowest batting average in the league at 181. Entering the season, his batting average on balls in play was 323 for his career. This season, he's 103 points below that. He is not playing well and not hitting well. The power numbers are up there.
Right.
And, he's always been very good there, but, the actual all those other numbers associated with hitting, not there at all.
But if you're seriously thinking about entertaining Bryce Harper in the free agency offseason, you have to look at this as an aberration, right? I mean, everything he's done in his career up to this point has been phenomenal. I mean, it's not Mike Trout-ish, but it's pretty damn close. So how much do you say, look, okay, there's a lot probably weighing on his mind. We'll see what's going on here. Yes, I mean, this has to be an aberration, because everything else we've seen from Bryce Harper over his career has proven that he's going to be a superstar.
Oh,
right?
Well, yeah, absolutely right. And the other big possibility, a big free agent, Manny Machado, started the season off fantastic in Baltimore, has not been in April. He was hitting 361, 9 home runs through the end of April. Since then, he's been hitting 266. And he switched from third to short, and it has not been going well in the field as well at shortstop for him. So 2 of the big-time free agents that are out there, listen, they're still going to get their big money. But we were looking at that record amount for Bryce Harper. You wonder if that's still going to be there or not.
Are the Yankees in play for Bryce Harper?
Well,
then that record Yankees money is probably still in play.
They're only 7th in the payroll this year. They're way down low.
They got to pay all those guys coming up.
Yeah, they do.
It'll be very interesting. By the way, one thing that's tough for the Yankees, Gary Sanchez likely headed to the disabled list, their catcher, with a right groin / hip abductor.
Running to first base. You saw him kind of check up on that one, going to get an MRI. Could miss. Obviously, he's going to miss some time there.
Manager Aaron Boone says it's probably going to be a DL situation. And we got another situation, Mike, going on with Julian Edelman, and it's interesting. According to our Dan Graziano, the NFL is going to hear Edelman's appeal of his 4-game suspension today. ESPN reported earlier that the Patriots receiver is facing a 4-game suspension for violating the league's performance-enhancing drug policy. There's a couple of things to get in here, too, Mike, as we sort of segue out of what's trending into this actual discussion. One, the appeal that he's basing it on is basically the Ryan Braun defense, right?
Right.
A tainted sample.
Yeah, he said that there was, during this investigation, they're saying that things came up that the NFL did not go through the process properly and mishandled it. So that's going to be brought up, and it's also going to be brought up as, again, this is the one I find hard to believe. He tested positive for an unknown substance. So here, you're suspended 4 games because you tested positive. What did I test positive for? Well, we don't know. So that seems very interesting to me. I know in the Twitter world you get a lot of answers. Well, if it's something that's elevated, well then what's something that was elevated? Give me something here.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 things that he's going to be vigorously defending today. Now, we have seen some vigorous defenses in the past, a.k.a. Ryan Braun and Rafi Palmeiro, who's pointing at Congress about never taking steroids. And so some of those have backfired a little bit on people. Julian Edelman's going to go down this road. That will be heard today, so we'll see what happens with that.
Again, we'll get into that a little bit later because there's a lot of layers to that, and we'll have that discussion in just a minute. But I think it's time that we have the big reveal.
Golic and Wingo Leadership Retreat.
Again, thanks to Pinehurst for everything that they did, and the guys that won they were awesome. All the kids that came in and played
they were fantastic. The groups that came in, and listen, congratulations to you. You won by 2 points.
Championship.
Yeah. You won by 2 points. I was in second. Stugatz's group was in third, and Mike's group had fun.
Yeah. let's just say the biggest thing that Junior did on Saturday was he made a putt with his Happy Gilmore
hockey stick
putter, which was great. But that was the second best thing he did Saturday, actually making it to his tee time Saturday morning.
It was a struggle for him.
The boy ran hard.
He did.
The boy ran hard over the weekend.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He went out with a lot of winners on. We left that to him.
Yes.
On Friday night. You went out for a little bit.
I went out and then I looked at my watch and I saw where the weekend was going and said, "Hey guys, have a great evening."
I didn't make it out. We had a beautiful dinner and the awards dinner.
At the Carolina Inn, it was awesome.
But then everybody went out after that. Probably one of the reasons I did it because on the first hole we weren't even to the green yet. We were on our approach shot. And there was the beer cart, and I ordered 16 beers.
Well, so you were thinking of others.
We weren't even on the first green, and I had a 16-beer order in, and that's kind of how the day went.
Now, see, Mike, when they said you needed to hydrate and drink lots of liquids because it was hot and muggy, that's not what they meant.
That was the wrong liquid,
That is not exactly the way they meant. So I have to ask you, as a guy, you're an occasional golfer.
I'm a 5-6 times a year, mostly in charity events. Yes.
I'm a 5-6 times a week
yes, you are.
golfer, which is really sad and embarrassing on some levels. But for a guy that didn't play a lot, what did you think of the course, Pinehurst number 2?
All that was built up that I'd heard about it lived up and more. Yeah. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, and everybody there is just fantastic. I mean, you get treated so, and we won a contest and Pinehurst invited us down there and stuff, so they were very nice to us, but everybody, people that weren't associated with our trip, you just saw how they were being treated. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and
it was and the golf course is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so unique because there's, for those that haven't been or haven't or don't really understand how number 2 is completely different. About 5 years ago, maybe even more than that, 6 or 7 now, they basically got rid of all the rough. So you have the fairway, and they used to have the rough on either side of the fairway. Well, now that's all what it used to be when the course was created by Donald Ross. That's all natural sand, because those are called the sand hills of North Carolina. Right. So there's a bunch of sand there, and they just put in some natural vegetation. So it looks completely different than any other golf course you would play.
Yes, it does.
And then when your ball misses the fairway, you basically have a 50-50 shot.
Exactly.
Of either completely screwed or have a chance to play it out of there. And it frames the course so differently. And the greens are always the big thing at Pinehurst number 2. They're like upside-down teacups, basically.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
To hold a green there is almost impossible.
And the one thing I actually did pretty well is I putted with the speed pretty well, and it lost a few
You
putts.
made an eagle.
I did.
On the 10th hole, which was a par 5. I was playing behind you guys, and we heard this great roar. You go nuts. I'm like, we finally probably made a birdie.
Yeah.
So I come up behind you, and I sunk a 40-footer for birdie, and we start screaming, yeah! And you turned around and goes, that was for eagle for me, and I was crestfallen.
And mine was twice as far.
It was.
Listen, it was a shot, 3 shots. I smoked the drive.
Yeah.
I was a par 5, 10th hole. but it went into the stuff a little bit right off the left side of the fairway.
Yeah.
And then I smoked a shot out of the stuff, put it right at the beginning, right at the front of the green. Basically, I couldn't see the hole just because you said it. And so the caddies, by the way, Mark, my caddy, was phenomenal. All of them were just incredible.
Fred, Eric,
giving
Joe,
me the
Thomas.
read. I hit this putt and I stood there, so I saw it go up the crest and then just roll. And I saw everybody going, go, go. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then they started going nuts. I'm like, oh my God, I just got an eagle on Pinehurst too.
It's unbelievable that you don't ever play golf and you make an eagle on a par 5 at Pinehurst number 2.
But I'm going to tell you my greatest win.
Yeah.
As I was walking my caddy and I were walking to the first tee, and I saw all the winners there and all you guys there, and I didn't see any golf carts.
Yeah.
And I was probably 40 yards from the first tee, and I saw that, and I said, Mark, are we walking? And he looked at me and said, yeah. I said, hell no. I said, I want to ride.
Come on,
He's
man.
like, you want to ride? I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, I'll go get the golf cart. So we had 4 groups out there, 4 foursomes, and 2 golf carts. I was in one. My son was in the other one.
The only guys that took carts are the former professional athletes. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
John, our producer who's here with us today, you're a big golfer, right?
That's right.
Yeah. If you're going to walk a course with a caddy, number 2 at Pinehurst is the absolute one you should walk, correct?
I mean, here's the thing. I know that you won the championship,
Yeah.
but the 16 beer order on the first green and saying, I need a golf cart. I'm not going to walk this course. Golic, he won my championship.
Oh, man,
I didn't win at golf, but I won at all the extracurriculars.
You won at life.
Yeah.
You won at life.
Yeah. But it really does. There are no golf carts on 2. You said there's 9 courses there.
Yeah.
All the other ones you can use a cart.
Yeah.
And I started saying to Mark, I'm like, Mark, there's no, and he says, no, people rarely, if ever, use a golf cart. I'm like, I don't feel guilty at all. I'm good.
You guys, come on. You got to get the full experience.
I did. I was full after the experience.
16, you were full. There's no question about it. I was full of it for another reason.
You won.
Actually, I'm just full of it.
Congratulations to
you.
So
one by
Happy
2,
for
very
you.
excited about that, and we'll get into a little bit more about what happened as we continue on the show today.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Julian Edelman of the Patriots is trying to do something different on a Monday and hopefully have a fun way to get out of a 4-game suspension. And Mike, this is interesting. Again, our Dan Graziano reporting that he is appealing his 4-game suspension today. The 4-game suspension appeal will be heard. But there's a lot of questions about this, including he was tested for something or found positive for something they didn't know existed. So my question is, how does that happen? How do you find something that you're not looking for?
I'm befuddled by this, and I would really love some explanation. But we know when we're talking about, PEDs and suspensions, not a lot of it is going to go public, even though we certainly find out a lot about it. Yeah. But again, the Monday Morning Quarterback reported this is back ago, a few days later after he was tested positive. The substance for which Edelman tested positive wasn't one of the league's drug testers recognized.
So
I'm just. So you can sit there and say something was elevated. So what was elevated? I mean, I know if testosterone is high, that triggers a positive. But that's something. But at least that's something you can tangibly tell me.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is. The league's drug testers did not recognize.
So the question then becomes, as we get into Straight Talk here, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. I have to believe something was elevated that led them to look for something else, and then they found something that they weren't aware of.
That's
the only thing that makes sense, right?
That's still what we're waiting to hear. And again, normally, in all honesty, we shouldn't hear it, right? Yeah. It's supposed to be very private, but we know how some of these things get out. But just when you hear a line like that he tested positive for something the drug testers didn't recognize, I'm sorry, my antenna goes up, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. And then
there's the other part of
the other part, it involves mishandling of the documentation and delivery of Edelman's test results.
Now listen, I'm going to tell you something. If that happened, if they didn't follow procedure, if I'm Edelman, I'm all in on this.
Well, yeah,
I'm all in on this.
They're saying during the course of the investigation, it was learned that the NFL made mistakes in the manner in which the test results were handled. Edelman is arguing that the mishandling of the evidence is one of the reasons he should be exonerated.
Okay, so there's a couple of things to get into there. first of all and foremost, if that sounds familiar to you, that's what we're calling the Ryan Braun defense
exactly
in
right.
Major League Baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers player who was trying to avoid a 50-game suspension.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know if anybody ever went hard in and denying this any more than Ryan Braun.
And he
did.
went on the collective.
I mean, I think he got that guy fired.
I mean,
right?
absolutely, positively went in on that guy.
And then it didn't hold.
No, it did
because,
not. No, it did not.
I mean, eventually he copped to it. And he's still playing. I mean, he's making $19 million.
Right. That's the thing. You serve the penalty, and then you're allowed to play after that. That's the way it works.
So the question then becomes, do we think this is going to be successful? Because what we've seen from the NFL, Mike, is that the commissioner has broad latitude on a bunch of this stuff. Now, this is not so much a personal conduct issue or anything like that.
Exactly.
There are policies that are in place. But if for some reason procedures were not done correctly, I think he has a good chance.
Oh, I think he absolutely has a good chance. I mean, even you would think even the NFL is going to recognize, okay, if the procedure was wrong, we put procedures in place for a reason. If they were in fact wrong, then either the suspension has to go away or it has to go down in games.
Correct.
Right now, he would be on the hook for losing, I think, about $470,000.
And he's 32 years old, Mike, as a wide receiver coming off an ACL. You have to wonder how much longer can he play.
So he's going to fight this vigorously on those two things. Basically, the one that the drug testers didn't even recognize what he tested positive for, but there was something off in the test, and then two, the handling of the sample there. So. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, you have time because even if he were suspended, if he came out and he was suspended, he can he did participate in all the OTAs and mini camps, everything. Even if the suspension is upheld, he can be at training camp. He can play in every preseason game, and then once the season starts, then he can't be around.
Of course, I'm curious, considering it was a preseason game in Detroit last year that ended his 2017 season, how much he would actually want to do that. But there's another part of this. This is just another layer in what has been a very unsettling offseason for the New England Patriots.
Yes, it is.
I mean, normally we're talking about the Patriots, and for many reasons, they still are the gold standard of franchises in the NFL in terms of how you consistently win. There being one consistent voice from the organization, that is head coach Bill Belichick. Well, you had Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski missing voluntary OTAs for the first time ever in Brady's case. And, of course, he said this offseason when he was asked at Jim Gray at one of his leadership conferences, not as good as ours, we should point out, where if he felt respected by the organization, he says, I plead the fifth. Mm-hmm. It's just been a weird offseason for New England on a lot of levels, right?
Yeah, it has. So now you wonder, how far does this group stay together? And that would be really Belichick, Brady, and Gronk. And how long they go, because we went through the whole Brady thing of retirement. Is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? When he was talking to Oprah.
Right.
And
retirement's closer than people think.
Then he threw out in Spanish the
45.
Number 45 again, that he wants to play till he's 45 years old. I personally think he'll have 2 more years where he's 2 more years. I say like more at the top of his game. Gronk, I have no idea. I mean, maybe Gronk after this year, he's got 2 more years. Gronk, I think 8 this year and like 9 next year, something like that. Yeah. He was looking, I think, also for an extension. Now, we see you can do stuff as far as for the ancillary things like not on your salary.
Endorsements and stuff?
No, not endorsements, but performance bonuses, those kind of things.
I was trying to help you.
I know.
I saw the blank stare.
It wasn't coming
the
to
eyes
me.
were going. I'm like, I'm trying to help you, man. Help me help you.
Not redoing the contract by compensation by salary. By performances and adding it that way. So, that's something that possibly may happen in Atlanta with Julio Jones, who's looking for a new deal as well instead of redoing the entire deal. So we'll see. But it has been, and yet every time we do this with the Patriots, there they are. Yeah. There they are.
So here's my question for you then, going forward. Do you think any of this stuff translates into on the field issues?
No, because I think these guys do such a good job of when they get to the facility, they're so focused on the task at hand, and I think that's a credit not only to Bill Belichick for creating that standard, but for those players, especially the main players, accepting that standard and saying, okay, whatever we've done, whatever has gone on outside this building, once we come into this building for the start of the season, then we know what our focus is. Because, listen, players have pride. They still want to be the best. Brady wants to be the best quarterback. Gronk wants to be the best tight end. Belichick and everybody, they all want to have the best team out there. It's not like you go in there and show up and say, you know what, don't really care what happens. Don't really care if I play well. Everybody has personal pride on that, and it's been instilled by Belichick the way he runs his show. So you go in there and you're, okay, we're in the season now. This is what we do. So no, I don't expect this to start bleeding over and say, oh no, their season's in trouble because of this.
Well, look, this is how important Edelman is to the New England Patriots. He has 390 catches from Tom Brady. That's third most ever, and who Brady has thrown to, trailing only Wes Welker with 563 and Gronk with 469. And you know what? They won their last Super Bowl without Rob Gronkowski when he was injured when they came back from 28-3 against the Falcons. But they didn't win this past Super Bowl when they didn't have Julian Edelman. People make fun of the glue guy.
Yeah.
He's the glue guy.
He's the
chain mover. He's the tone setter.
He's the 3rd and 5, 6-yard catch guy. Yeah. That's what he does.
And he's been that way his entire career. Again, we'll see what happens going forward. And we'll see if this suspension is reduced. Again, the hearing of the appeal is today.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
We are officially on what we call LeBron Watch now. I mean,
From the beaches of LA to Houston. From Boston to the Bay. And to Cleveland. This is LeBron Watch.
because LeBron has until Friday.
Yes, he does.
To decide whether or not he's opting out.
Opting out like Carmelo Anthony opted in.
For $27.9 million.
27 point. And remember he was talking about it's not about the money, it's about going somewhere and playing the way I think I can play?
Please.
I mean, listen, and he's been a guy where it's been about the money. And again, there's nothing wrong with that.
No issues with that whatsoever.
Nothing wrong with that at all, but I guess in checking out the landscape, he thought his option would be better to stay there and make his $27 million. Paul George has to make that decision again this week, like LeBron, whether he's going to opt out or not, because, again, the thought of both of them opting out and going to the Lakers together, still that's the odds-on thing, or especially LeBron going to Lakers, the odds-on favorite in Vegas, because you can bet on all these wonderful
Exactly.
things.
And we'll talk with Royce Young about what's going on with Carmelo and Paul George a little bit later this morning. But the reason the LeBron watch is interesting is because I think a lot of people are going to see what happens with Kawhi and how that may determine what happens with LeBron. Look, over the last week and a half, it's come out that LeBron. I just put them together. Kawhi.
Maybe that's what they'll call them if they're teammates.
LeBron?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I just gave you that little information. There you have it. Kawhi has told San Antonio he wants to leave. He doesn't want to be there, and he wants to go to Los Angeles. And we saw that picture of Greg Popovich and Kawhi breaking a little bread, trying to talk things through. He obviously, and R.C. Buford, the GM of the Spurs, has said, we want Kawhi back. But not everybody in San Antonio feels that way. Bruce Bowen, who won championships with the Spurs, worked for us for a long time, went on Sirius XM radio, and does not have a lot of love for Kawhi at this point.
I think there's nothing but excuses going on. So first it was, I was misdiagnosed. Look here, you got $18 million this year, and you think that they're trying to rush you. You didn't play, for the most part, a full season this year, and you're the go-to guy. You're the franchise, and you want to say that they didn't have your best interest at heart? Are you kidding me? Not one time has Kawhi come out and said anything to the effect of, you know what, hey, I really enjoy being in San Antonio, or I can't stand what's going on here in San Antonio. Not one time has he said anything.
So there's a couple of things to get into.
Yeah. First, to me, why does Kawhi have to say anything? Kawhi has never been a public guy. Kawhi doesn't owe the public for him to stand in front of a microphone and say whether he wants to be in San Antonio or not. Right. He owes his team that. And he let his team know he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't owe a press conference to anybody because he never has been that guy. So now why should he sit in front of a microphone and make his intentions clear when he's never done that before? So I don't have a problem with him not telling all of us all of that, as long as he talks to his team and he broke bread with, as you mentioned, with Pop. I don't even know if he wanted to do that. He may have done that out of respect for Pop because I think he wants to be out of there. But as long as if I hear he's not talking to the team at all or letting them know his intentions, I have more of an issue with that. But he doesn't need to be talking to anybody publicly about that if he doesn't want to.
Plus, if he started doing that now, as a former player, it would come off as disingenuous.
Absolutely.
Because the players know who he is and know his personality. And you know it in the locker rooms you were in. If a guy suddenly is doing something that is out of character for him, you're like, you're being phony right now. Why are you going down this road? But the bigger question then becomes, is he going to get what he wants? Is Kawhi, because he's made it pretty clear he wants to go to L.A. He wants to play in L.A., and obviously people are thinking Lakers more than Clippers there. Because if you're the Spurs, and we had the sound from R.C. Buford on after the draft, he's like, our intention is to try and keep him. Now, you can have him for 1 year.
Right.
So what do you want to do? If you feel like this thing isn't working, and obviously in Kawhi's mind it isn't working, do you, A, keep him for a year just to make sure he doesn't go start a super team with the Lakers, or do you try and trade him somewhere else? But anybody that you're trading with, the Kawhi camp is saying, hey, look, you can trade for him. It's a rental, one and done.
So it's on a couple of levels here. If he feels he's lost trust with the organization, that's one of the other things Brucey talked about was, thinks he was misdiagnosed. Mm-hmm. So remember from the side, I want to go off on this tangent for a moment. From the side of the player.
Away, big boy.
From the side of the player, everybody's allowed a second opinion, and this is what happened here.
Correct.
And everybody should get a second opinion. I never did. I just basically said what the doctors of the team said, and but it's a different level probably with the stars. And it shouldn't be. I mean, because it's your body's your body, and you want to play with that with your body. You want it to get the best treatment possible. But the thought of they have your best interest all the time. Now that certainly may be the hierarchy, right?
Right.
The best player, they have it, the 10th player on the bench. There may be, and again, it shouldn't be that way, but to sit here and say everybody gets treated equal is ridiculous.
Now, the more you can do, the longer leash you have. That's the simple fact.
The thought about it is that team doctors will work for the team, and the team wants to get the guy back out on the court or on the field or on the ice or on the pitch or whatever as fast as they can while healthy. That's always the dilemma you have with a team doctor who is getting paid by the team. And let's also understand, these team doctors, they aren't being paid millions by these teams. They aren't making a ton of money from these teams. There's certainly ancillary things they get from this, without a doubt, to say you are the team physician or orthopedic or whatever for a professional team. So for the most part, you got to believe that they have the patient's best interest at heart. But there's a reason you can go get a second opinion, which is what Kawhi Leonard did, and that's where a lot of this started. And then when the teammates, especially a Tony Parker, speaks up and said, "I had the same injury and I'm back in half the time," I think all of a sudden Kawhi's like, "Wait a minute, okay, is this a place that I want to be?" And then as far as the choices, here's what, in my opinion, what San Antonio should do. Do what's right for you.
Correct.
Make the best business decision for you. If you, and I wasn't in that meeting, if in any way, shape, or form you think Kawhi Leonard was waning and wasn't adamant that he wanted to leave and was kind of, who knows, maybe you keep him for another year and see if you can talk him into it. No idea if that's the case. If not, if he absolutely wants out and you're like, okay, we're going to trade him, I personally, I think it's ridiculous to say we're not going to trade him to the Lakers, even if that's the best deal we can do, because we don't want to create a super team. If Kawhi Leonard is adamant and says, in 1 year, I'm going to be a Laker, why are you going to worry about it if you're San Antonio? Because if you trade him somewhere else, in a year later, he's going to be with the Lakers anyway. Yeah. So why would you blow a deal if that's the best deal you can get? Because quite honestly, What are the Celtics going to offer if unless they think they can keep him for the year? You're going to give up some of that great young talent and picks for a guy for possibly 1 year? You may roll the dice and say, once we get him here, if we can win a championship or get to the championship, maybe he'll stay here. But you're rolling the dice.
Well,
so how much are you willing to give up for that? So I'll circle back to the Lakers really want him. And if the Lakers offer you the best deal, take the stinking deal and be done with it.
I think that's the way they have to look at it at this point. I mean, we've had people come in here and say, why would the Spurs want to help build a super team? Because let's be honest, if Kawhi goes there, and I think that's going to be a sales pitch for LeBron,
sure,
to go to the Lakers as well. But you're right, Mike. At some point, if it appears, and I don't know if we're 100% there yet, but it certainly looks like this is a relationship that can't be saved.
Right.
And if it comes to that, then the Spurs have to absolutely do what's best for them. But let me ask you this. In any way, is any of this, I mean, Bruce Bowen obviously never had the luxury of the leverage that Kawhi Leonard is having right now as a superstar player.
Right.
But does Kawhi in any way, shape, or form appear differently to you now because of the way he sort of dealt with this?
Well,
is there a different way? He was always going to be the quiet superstar that just did what he had to do and was not really a diva in any way, shape, or form. This changes the picture for him a little
it absolutely
bit.
does. Because basically we never heard from the guy.
Right.
We said consummate teammate. You don't hear from him. He doesn't stir anything up publicly. He just goes out and he's the best two-way player in the game and one of the best players in the league. Right?
Right.
Now all of a sudden it's like, I don't trust you guys anymore, and I only want to go to the Lakers, send me to the Lakers. Certainly that's could change your perception of him, but you know what? He doesn't care. It doesn't sound like he cares. And when you have the leverage as a player, when you have the leverage hammer, you swing it.
Yep.
You swing it as best you can to get what you want, because you know what? You're allowed to do that. The system dictates that you could do things like that, and then San Antonio has to make their decision on that. But to the perception, yes, because what was our perception of him? We never heard from the guy.
Correct.
We just saw him go play great and never say anything. And now he's demanding this or demanding that. At least that's what we're hearing. Yeah, that's going to change people's perception of him.
So again, we'll see how that plays out. But again, this is important because by Friday, LeBron has to decide whether he's staying in Cleveland or going to opt out of that contract, and what Kawhi does may have a big impact in that. A little later on in the show, we'll do something that we've been trying to do for a while. We're going to spin the wheel of LeBron.
Yes, we are.
And find out what makes the best sense for him going forward. We've got a few teams put together, and we'll debate whether or not they can make the best sales pitch or it makes the most sense. But the first domino to fall will be Kawhi Leonard, and we'll find out sooner rather than later what's going on there.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
We bring in our ESPN Thunder reporter, Royce Young. He joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Royce, what does this mean now going forward, now that Carmelo has said, I'm staying and you're paying me $28 million?
Yeah, I mean, it means that Carmelo Anthony says, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and I want to get paid. That's basically what this really is all about, is that, nobody around the league expected Carmelo Anthony to do anything other than take this money. And when the Thunder made the trade with the Knicks last season, they viewed it basically as a two-season thing. They didn't anticipate Carmelo Anthony would do anything different. A lot of people have focused on the financial element of this and how far, if the Thunder re-sign Paul George, the Thunder will actually end up having the highest payroll in NBA history, at least for the time being. So, and for a small market franchise like the Thunder, I mean, that's kind of a daunting future, but this is what they planned for. This is what they expected. So for them, it's not surprising. It's not shocking. What would have been shocking is if Carmelo Anthony did anything other than take this money. So, right now, what makes it kind of complicated is what Carmelo Anthony said at the end of the season. And when he sat down at exit interviews and expressed frustration with his role and his responsibility and said that he doesn't really want to do that anymore, if that wouldn't have happened, everybody would have been like, yeah, this is what everyone expected. But now people are wondering, Carmelo has ceded control. He has basically said, I'm going to give control back to the Thunder, and they can decide my future. They can work a buyout with me. They can try to convince me to be traded somewhere because he still has his no trade clause, or they can use the stretch provision. So Carmelo's just giving up control back to the Thunder because he wants his money.
Yeah, and listen, no doubt it seems odd they could have that highest payroll, at least for a short time anyway, when they have already lost guys like Harden and Durant.
Correct.
Of what it possibly could have been. So Paul George, I mean, we keep talking about LeBron at the end of the week making his decision. Paul George has to make a decision as well. Any thoughts on where he may be leaning?
Yeah, like right now, Mike, if you talk to people around the league, there's a growing sentiment that the Thunder, you don't want to necessarily say that they're in the lead because there's been no official meetings yet, but what I can say is that the Thunder have made a strong impression on Paul George, and there is some pessimism around other teams that are hoping to have a chance to sign Paul George, that they're going to get that opportunity. Basically this time last year, right before the Thunder made the trade for Paul George, the Pacers were still out there shopping him, and a lot of teams were afraid to take him because of one reason, and that's because everybody believed that it was a foregone conclusion. Much like the Kawhi Leonard situation, they felt like it was foregone that the Lakers were going to be the one that signed him. So, a lot of teams were scared off by it. The Thunder took the gamble. They would have never gotten the free agent meeting to start with. The Thunder would have never even gotten in the room with Paul George come July 1st. And now they sit here with a week to go until it opens, kind of in pole position. So, the Thunder, I've been told that the relationship between Russell Westbrook and Paul George was extremely strong. That's something that the Thunder really hoped and kind of crossed their fingers for, that would go really well, and it did. But, like for an example, the moment that Paul George arrived in Oklahoma City, they threw him a welcome party. And from that moment on, as George said himself, the Thunder started checking all the boxes. And even just on draft night, Paul George had a surprise birthday party out in Southern California, and his family invited Thunder staffers to come. Billy Donovan was there. And, that's something that kind of makes you raise your eyebrows and say, well, it'd be a little bit weird to be inviting Thunder people out there if you're about to break their hearts in a couple weeks.
Royce Young with us, our ESPN Thunder reporter, an Oklahoma University alum. So real quickly, just percentage-wise, because obviously we're talking about money, and that clearly drove the case for Carmelo. How much money would Paul George eventually be walking away from if he does leave instead of potentially signing a max deal, if that's possible, in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, he would definitely be leaving some on the table, and when you're talking in super maxes, Trey, and you're talking in this level.
It's big bucks, man.
It's big dollars. And, the Thunder are the team that can offer him a 5-year contract. So in terms of guaranteed money, it's an extra, $30-40 million just in terms of guaranteed money that the Thunder could offer versus anybody else. And if you're somebody like Paul George, and you've got a metal rod in your leg because you broke, you had that horrible injury, that might be something that you're sitting there thinking about, that you're saying that, like, I don't want to, there's been some feeling that, he would do the 1+1, which is what, Kevin Durant, LeBron James have been doing to get to that 10-year threshold so he can make more money and then re-sign or re-weigh his future. A lot of people felt like, that Paul George just kind of wants to run it back with Westbrook. They had a good experience last year, try it out again, see what happens, and then maybe get a better feel for what the landscape of the league is next summer. But if you're Paul George, maybe you sit there and you say, I don't know if I want to, take that chance. I've had a significant injury once before. I want to sign long term and make sure I'm locked into that big dollar deal.
So, Royce, you just said, if George, stays there, that they could have the highest payroll in the league. It's a team that finished 4th in the conference, 48-34. Right. If this is the case, what do they have the potential to do to better this team if they can at all?
Right, that's a great question because when they made all these moves, added Paul George, added Carmelo Anthony, ownership was all in behind it, and it was something that basically, as I was told, they kind of viewed it as that's the cost of doing business in today's NBA. In a Warriors world where you've got to stack stars on top of each other, if you want to be competitive, you got to throw those type of dollars around. And now, like you said, it didn't go quite like they expected it to. And if you're ownership, you have to be saying, look, when I signed up for this and I said that I was going to be willing to pay all those dollars, that was under the prospect of being in the Western Conference Finals and going toe-to-toe with the Warriors, not going out in the first round of the Utah Jazz. So, it's something that they anticipated doing. The Thunder financially have been kind of saving for this time. This is, for better or for worse, this is why they traded James Harden, is to have money when Russell Westbrook and what they thought, Kevin Durant, being in the primes of their careers, is to have a lot of money for a high payroll. But, it's the kind of payroll that you want to see producing wins, not 48 and going out in the first round.
No question about it. And again, the bottom line is Carmelo's there. We'll find out what happens next with Paul George. Royce, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Royce.
All right. You bet, guys.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
We are delighted to be joined now in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by the Mavs GM, Donnie Nelson. Donnie, thanks for being with us this morning. First and foremost, how all in are you guys, or were you guys, when you made the trade on Doncic?
Oh, yeah, all the way. Really excited. We had been working for a while on it. It came together when Mr. Shark Tank showed up, and we literally minutes before pulled the trigger, and really, really excited about adding him to the mix down here.
Can you explain the timing of it again? Because I know there's that rule of trading draft picks at 2 o'clock.
Right. You have to have it done by 2 o'clock the day of the draft.
But when it's players, it can be a little bit different. So can you kind of explain that difference and how this went down as opposed to picks?
Sure. It's basically a moratorium. So we came to terms literally right before the draft started, and then basically you pick for each other. So the trade wasn't actually consummated until Young went down to 5 and was selected, and then we had our deal.
Donnie, that's always seemed so foreign to me because I'm obviously big on the NFL draft, and picks are traded at all times during the draft, and it really makes things more exciting. Do you like the idea of this 2 o'clock moratorium on no trading picks after that, and then you draft players and they put on the hat and suddenly they're not going to that team anymore? It creates some awkward moments. Would you like to see draft picks being able to be traded as the draft is going on?
No, I'm fine with it. It definitely works. It is a little confusing, but shoot, with your boy Woj, he knows what everyone's doing before they even do it. So what difference does it make?
Well,
it's just weird. Too. Like, Mikal Bridges was there with his mom who works for the Sixers. Yeah. Oh, we're keeping him in the family. He's staying here. And now you're going to Arizona.
Yeah.
It just seems weird to me.
That hat picture all of a sudden becomes obsolete with the commissioner pretty quickly. We're talking to Donnie Nelson, GM of the Mavs. So we talked about Doncic. We heard him talking about being a pro since 15, 16 years old. How much do you think it will help with Dirk there as far as European player and try and acclimate him not only to the NBA but to the country?
Oh, it's massive. Dirk's seen and done it all, and, done the ultimate here. He knows what it takes. Dirk's first 2 years here were difficult. They were, remember back in the day when he was getting thrown around like a rag doll, and he and Nash kind of were fighting through some tough times. And it's a little bit of a trip back in time, with Dennis Smith Jr. and, Luka. And so they're going to be going through some tough times. So it's really important to have leadership with Harrison Barnes and, obviously Dirk, being from Europe and being able to help him through those, those difficult moments.
Donnie Nelson with us, the Mavs GM. Of course, they made the trade during the draft. They traded the players, and they ended up with Luka Doncic. Listen, we've heard all kinds of talk about Doncic. He's this, he's that. He can do this, he can't do that. When it's all said and done, what is the thing that you like most about what Doncic is going to bring to the team?
He makes his teammates better, and he wins. I mean, he's just his DNA is winning. He's done it at every level, done it at a very young age. When we were interviewing him, he said the thing that he really loves to do is pass. And, when you have those players, passing becomes infectious, and that's how teams get better. If you look at, Golden State, the way that ball moves, around the perimeter, everyone can shoot, everyone can pass, and it's, that's the way the game is going. So he's he's an important step for us in that direction.
What's the first step? Well, what does he first do? And kind of in my sport of football, when guys are drafted, some are put immediately into their starting spot. Some it takes obviously a little bit more time. What's the expectation here?
Yeah, no, I think the same as Dennis Smith last year. Rick is committed to, if earned, putting in the starting position, and we're kind of getting focused in on the future pieces of the Mavs and the next step, and so and the first step was actually last Friday when we had the press conference, and he showed up in Texas for the first time, and he knew who the Cowboys were, and he knew where Six Flags was, and that was about it.
Well, listen, that's a good starting base.
Yes, it is.
In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, if you know where on I-30 Six Flags is, and you know the Cowboys, you're off to a good start. As we're talking to Donnie Nelson, the Mavs GM, we should not just skip over this. You talked about winning being part of the DNA for Doncic. You've also added Jalen Brunson to the squad. Talk about winning DNA there. What did you like much about him and the 2 championships that he won at Villanova?
Just really, we had a chance to coach his dad briefly at Golden State, and Leon Rose, who's a longtime friend, that was his first client. And so to have Leon, come down, and Bill Duffy was Steve Nash's, agent, join us for the press conference Friday was really, really cool. It's almost like a deja vu moment, but no. Jalen brings, winning DNA through and through. He, like Luke, has done it on every level. And when you get guys like that in the locker room, good things happen.
Donnie, we had Adam Silver on last week, and he talked of, and the reports out there, the one and done possibly being over by 2021 or 22, one of those years because of trades and things like that. Are you for that? Are you ready to see that go by the wayside?
I think it's a reality of where things are going. I think, the NCAA is really tired of, the one and done situation. And so I think it's an inevitability. And so, it's going to be different for sure. But I think, with the G League and the success that we've had there, I think we'll be ready for it.
Well, it'll certainly be a change. And perhaps the most important question, as Mavs GM Donnie Nelson is with us, will the Mavericks in any way, shape, or form help Doncic get a meeting with Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
As that is one of his stated goals.
Hey, priorities. Mark's already working on that.
Oh, yeah. Cuban can pull it off.
Now we get the Tiger, and it's all good for Luka Doncic. Donnie, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great week.
You too, pal.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.